Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be a tiny fish traveling in a huge school of other fish like you? Would it be much easier to swim with your friends rather than just by yourself? If so, how? Today, we're joined by Dr. Liang Li, who designs, builds, and optimizes robotic fish to study energy-saving mechanisms within fish schools. Hello, and welcome to In the Swarm, where we dive into the minds behind the hive. We're back in sunny Konstanz, and I'm thrilled to introduce you to this episode's guest, Dr. Liang Li. Welcome, Liang. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
First introduction, who are you and how did you get into science?
I'm Liang Li. I'm a project leader here with University of Konstanz and also affiliated with Max Planck Institute of Animal Behavior. I'm basically working on building and applying bio-inspired robots to study how do animals interact each other and why they move together and how they manage to do.
Okay. So how did you first come up with these ideas that you're like, okay, I want to do research. I want to become a researcher and actually look at these topics. What were like the first sparks?
That dates back to when I was a bachelor student. So I got a chance to get a very small grant and to do some research. And then
you were an engineering student?
Yes, I was trained in engineering.
Okay.
So I got a grant which is dedicated for building bio-inspired robots, specifically robotic fish. And then I somehow got kind of loved with robotic fish and continuing to work on it. One of the biggest things for us, for me especially, like why fish can swim forward without propeller, right? So often if you see all of those human-built machines, they are often driven by propellers. And where if you look at nature, they don't. None of them use, propeller stuff. And why?
So is it fair to say that you kind of like had like this stereotypical fish in your brain as opposed to I'm going to pick a carp. I'm going to go study the carp and try to mimic it in my, engineering project.
Yeah, back then we don't have those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so after this funding, you're like, okay, I'm going to continue with robot fish.
Exactly.
All right, so now it's your master's degree.
After that is actually direct to the PhD degree.
Oh, wow.
So we didn't.
You skipped master's.
Yeah, we
Perfect.
skipped the master. So yeah. And then when I was a PhD, I continued to work on robotic fish, and the professor,
supported you.
Yeah, he's also working on robotic fish, and then somehow I got those positions there, and then continued to work with robotic fish. Back then, I was trained in dynamics and control. So basically, I take a robotic fish as a platform, and then you can learn how to control the robot fish.
With like a controller?
No, the control means autonomous control.
Okay, so autonomous robots, yeah.
Yeah, you have to autonomous control a robot to moving from one point to the other point or follow some specific trajectories, path following and something like those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, here comes a very simple question.
Yes.
Why are we interested in autonomous robots?
Yeah, this is a really great question. But actually, if you look at the application side, human-involved controller often is very slow.
Right.
You need to observe, okay, where's the state, and then you need to control the
reaction
joy.
times.
And then you have exactly.
Right.
So for those certain things, it's very hard. For example, if you take the airplane, when the airplane just gliding or like flying over long distance, most of the time actually it's auto. Flight. There's no pilot was there, but they don't really hands-on to drive it. And this is also another problem. Like human also get tired very easily and make mistakes very easily.
Exactly.
And then some small mistakes could be a disaster.
Right.
On the other hand, in the industry and also in some very extreme environments, human can't be there and can't really have a connection there. For example, underwater. Wi-Fi doesn't work, GPS doesn't work. There's no signal can transfer there, and our actions should have to be done on board, like perception autonomously. So in that case, you don't have other options.
Okay, I wanted to get us back to a bit more conceptual level. I also can imagine that some listeners may be wondering, why are we using robots to understand biology at all? Because when you think about a biologist, which you kind of are, you're both, I would say, an engineer and a biologist at this point. But if you think about a traditional biologist, you think about someone who goes into the field, find that animal that they're interested in or plants that they're interested in, and they study them in the wild, so to speak. So has there been a tradition of, okay, let's use robotics to understand biology as opposed to going out there and just observing things as they are?
Yeah, this is a really great question. Studying biologic system, of course, the direct way is observing biologic system and then you understand it behind. Traditionally, we get this information, like for example, you first observe the animal system and then you get some model. And based on those model, you learn why they do this and how they do this and so on. Or you can do simulations, like can simulate and see whether the pattern or emerged phenomenon matches what you observed in the real situation or not.
Mm-hmm.
But this works for a lot of cases, especially in like behavior level. But some of them, it's not very efficient in either simulations or mathematical modeling. For example, turbulence. When fish swim in the flow, and they will generate turbulence. And if you want to simulate turbulence, that is very expensive in computing. I can give one example because we have a postdoc here. He's working on computational fluid dynamics. It takes around 1 week to get 1 second simulations.
Oh my gosh.
So it's very, very expensive.
Energy intensive, resource intensive.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And also for modeling is almost impossible because it's turbulent stuff.
So there are certain things in the wild that you want to model, but it's just impossible with the time and the resources that we have.
Exactly. But with the robot system, could be much easier. I mean, you needed to first climb the hill to make the robot, and after that, then
spend 10 years learning control theory, and then implement the control theory and build the robots, and then.
Or you can collaborate with people who already get the control theory stuff, and then
Perfect.
You don't need to.
All right.
I think that's the spirit here, right? So you bring different people from different fields and work on the same thing. Then you don't need to train. Area aspects.
That's the thing, right? That you get to a place like the cluster, you have all sorts of different people from different disciplines interested in perhaps a similar question. Yeah. And then you can really collaborate.
Yes.
And this is why you're here at the Cluster of Excellence.
This is one of the biggest reasons I'm here.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, so why robots and why robotic fish specifically? Because I was very interested in energy saving in fish school. So when fish moving together, there is a hypothesis like the fish can get energy saving by interacting with the flow generated by the neighbor. Which, the flow basically is kind of turbulence there, and they needed to kind of decode the information and then use that turbulence to save energy. If you directly observe fish swimming, you put fish swim together and then you can measure energy cost, let's say oxygen consumption or heartbeat or something like those. And then comparing to fish swimming alone, then you can also get an estimation based on oxygen or heartbeat. But if the fish is social fish and you put fish swimming alone, then they will be stressed. Right. Then the oxygen consumption, the heartbeat will be increased significantly.
And it's not just because of the energy expended.
Yeah, it's not because of the hydrodynamic interactions. It's just because of social psychology, and you can't get rid of it, and you can't control it. But with robotic fish, at least nowadays, robotic fish, they don't have really have
social anxiety.
Such problem. So you can take advantage of those, and then you can put robotic fish swimming alone, swimming together, and then measure energy cost, comparing the two cases, and then you find when the fish can save energy by swimming together and understand how.
So this is basically one of your bigger questions, right? Like really looking at the energy efficiency in schooling fish as opposed to fish swimming like independently or...
Yeah. This is one of my biggest projects here. The other one is assume you get a model which can describe the phenomenon you observed in the nature, but there's often a problem like another group or people from the other directions, they can get another model which can also give you the same phenomenon. So basically, you observe the same phenomenon. There's a bunch of models can describe it. But which one is the one closest to the truth, or which one is the truth? It's very hard to really answer this. One of the ways is if you can create a robot, and this robot can interact with it, with the biological system, and by embedding the whatever algorithm or mechanism you find to the robot system, and this robot system kind of play around with the real biological system interacting in real life. In this case, you can ask the real life system to check whether this behavior, whether this model is natural or not. If it's natural, then they will perform naturally. If it's not natural, then they will perform unnaturally. Then you will know, okay, which one is closer to nature.
So it's a Turing test of a kind? Are you telling me?
We call Turing test.
Oh, you call it a Turing?
Yeah, we call it like fish Turing test. The robot system could be a virtual robot. Because the animal system, they just mainly based on the vision to sense information and make more decisions and so on. And so we find a rule like to explain how individuals follow another individual if they want to follow. And then we put the following algorithm with the whatever mechanism you find, and to control a virtual robot following a real fish as leader. And on the other side, we also have another real fish simultaneously also following the same leader. And then we can compare the real fish following the same leader versus a virtual fish, which is controlled by our algorithm following the same leader. And then you can see which one, or you can compare whether the behavior is similar or not.
So you know that this set of information comes in, the natural fish will act a certain way. But but in the middle, how the visual information becomes or gets translated or processed into behavior, you don't know, and that's the black box. That's the modeling that you want to get to.
That's the one you want to open, like to know what's thing inside.
Right.
And before that, we also needed to emphasize one point. The virtual reality system, because of the technology we are using now, we can only put one real fish in one system. So you can't put two fish in the same system. And if you want to make the two real fish interacting each other, then you have to have two identical virtual reality systems with two fish in each virtual reality system, and then you can link these two systems by projecting a virtual fish, which is kind of avatar of the real fish in the other system. So in this case, we managed to do something which is never be able to do before, which is we could have two identical systems in the same time with the same individuals. One is real, the other one is avatar. And then you have a follower, one is also real, one is virtual. And in this case, you can test your following algorithm by comparing the behavior versus the real fish following behavior, following the same leader. So this is a more directly way to verify whether your rule is good or not.
So from what I understand is that in the end, we basically have this really nice situation where you basically feed your model back into the wild, and basically biology tells you, yes, this is good, or no, it's not great. And I want to move on a little bit to what we teased about earlier, which is RoboTwin. Tell us more about that.
Cool. Yeah, RoboTwin is our very newly conceptually new terminology stuff from basically from our recent paper stuff. The idea is basically because historically the link between biology and robotics is heavily biased from biology to robots, basically bio-inspired robotics. So this already existed for a long time. Like even a lot of journals, they're specifically for bio-inspired robot stuff. But the other direction from robots to biology is very rarely emphasized.
Mm-hmm.
And even that is emphasized is just, for example, we have a biology question, then we will build specific robots to solve it. And we have another biology question, then we will build another robot system. They don't have a continuous there. And what we want to emphasize is you could have a robot system which in one way could serve as a bio-inspired robot, and in the other way could also as a feedback to solve biological questions.
Mm-hmm.
And once you solve those biological questions, you understand the biological system better, then you could as a feedback to build a robot system better.
Mm-hmm.
So this loop could go forever. That's why we call robot twin.
Mm-hmm. No, I think conceptually this is super cool, because I think it's what is being reflected a lot in your work, that you first, you build bio-inspired robots, and then you use those robots to kind of feed into your knowledge of this biological system that you're curious about. I mean, unless there's, I don't know, some sort of physical impossibility in literal building of the robots, right? Because when we chatted earlier, you did also talk about sometimes building robots are difficult because you have to literally from the ground up design your own dynamo or whatever, like these parts that, because let's say a certain type of fish moves like this, the certain parts, engineering parts that you have cannot give you the result that you want. And therefore, engineers around the world like basically sit down in the lab, make, or build their own parts. Do you feel like there's some sort of limit to that, to technology?
Yeah, for sure. This is one of the biggest bottlenecks in building robotic fish.
Mm-hmm.
One of the typical things I can tell you guys is whatever robotic fish is still kind of a machine which is very far behind the biological system. Let's say, for example, swim speed.
Mm-hmm.
It's way far less than the efficiency of the real fish system. Whatever robot system, even the most fantastic, most technology evolved robotic fish is still far behind the biological system.
Mm-hmm. So how do we overcome this big, chase of technology behind nature?
So the knowledge we understand from the biological system is not always transfer or copyable or develop or improvable for the robot system. And the robot system, one type of robot system can help you understand in one sense, and the other robot system could help you understand the other sense, and then you can combine them later. So basically you have a short pause in this direction. Mm-hmm. But you keep it, you not close it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could open another one and to study the other direction, because of that direction can work for you. And then later you can combine them and to make a complex robot system which is super good comparing to the one before. One example is like, for example, what we are doing here with robotic fish is really great to study hydrodynamic interactions, but not really great for visual information transfer. Because the robotic fish can't really swim as fast as agility as real fish do. Mm-hmm. But the virtual reality system, it can do great for visual information transfer, but very badly in hydrodynamic, which is physical information transfer. And then we keep these two lines parallel, and then co-evolve, and then one day we could merge these two knowledge together and to build a robot system which can both have the ability to transfer hydrodynamic and also visual stimulus and interact with each other.
Yeah, you get this more comprehensive kind of view.
Exactly.
Or robotic system that, again, hopefully would inform your knowledge of the biological system.
Yeah, exactly.
Side question that I'm sure lots of people would be actually really interested in. Is there any application, like real world application for robotic fish outside of research?
Robotic fish?
Yeah.
This is a very interesting. Okay, so one of the biggest application is underwater filming. And also it's very hard to use those propeller because it's unsafe. Because right, if you go together with a propeller drone stuff and it just close to you, and then
close.
Exactly, then it's disaster. So one of the applications could be underwater filming, and then with biologic friendly flapping underwater robots, and then can friendly swim together with you. And
I can also imagine that it would not be so disturbing for other animals around.
this is another very biggest application, and also is one of our projects going now. So it's two projects actually. One project is about like underwater robot, which is basically robotic fish to help us to collect field data more friendly. Like either you are using drone, which will have a lot of noise, and then it might scare animal system, and also doesn't work underwater. And also if you have underwater, we call UAV, underwater autonomous vehicle, which is often based on propeller, which we are changing, the flow field and then scare the fish and so
disturb the environment.
Exactly. So with that, you could collect the animal behavior or field works, like field filming stuff, more natural. And the other one could be, it's another project we are working on now. It's collective hunting stuff. So we build a robot system and then to give some signal, let's hunting together, and then see whether the animal system receive this signal and then hunting together or not.
Can you tease us a little bit about like what kind of fish species are you targeting?
Yeah, this is very bad because I don't really remember those biologic system names. I just know it's a fish, and also I think maybe coral trout, if I remember correctly.
Coral trout?
Yeah.
We will double check this.
And they collectively hunting with octopus.
Oh,
so it's
interspecies.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So it's a very smart one. So if our robot system can pass that test, that is really a great success.
Oh my gosh.
So this is a project that we collaborate
I'm
with.
so hyped about this.
Yeah, we collaborate with a lot of people.
I'm going to be emailing you like every month. Liang, are the octopus full yet? Can you tell me? So this is in collaboration with another university, or
with a lot of universities, and also including our local people here, like Eduardo. I think you know him.
Okay, before I get too carried away by the thought of co-hunting behavior between fish and octopus, because I really am. When people think about studying different animal models in the wild, one of the things that we always talk about, or we always have to keep in mind, is the ethics. Now that you're going into the wild, or that you're catching some species and bringing them back into the lab in order to study them, there are, steps that you need to kind of ensure that it's ethically sound. Can you tell us more about the fish ethics in this case?
Yeah, of course, we needed to have consider fish ethics things when you run experiments with fish. Here, I wanted to emphasize one thing, this could be also another advantage of robot twin. So with the robot twin system, because it's bio-inspired, right, it considers a lot of aspects from the biologic system. In one way, we could replace some biologic system with those bio-inspired robot systems, so we reduce the number of individuals. And in the other way, because it's biologically friendly, right? So it will bring less stress when we bring those bio-inspired robots to interact with the biologic system. We could also use the robotic system, just purely robotic system, to play around and then to generate some hypothesis without using any fish system, without using any live system. And you could generate a bunch of hypotheses, and those hypotheses could be very close to the truth. And then you just needed to test
them
those
with the
very
real...
limited number of fish there. And so this could be, I think, also one of the biggest advantage of the roboting system we are having here, because you can, basically following the 3R principles.
So let's take a step back from the content, because we've been talking very heavy content for quite a while now. I want to get in a bit more about your life as a researcher, because I think this is also one of the main reasons as to why some of our younger listeners might want to tune into our podcast, is to get a bit of a glimpse in terms of kind of the personal life and the person behind the science, kind of. What's the most challenging thing that you've had to face as a researcher?
The most difficult thing for me in science is find the right hypothesis. Because biological system always give you a bunch of directions you could,
Right.
could mislead you for a lot of directions, and then you will spend a lot of time to figure out which direction you really want to. And if you want to test one by one, very time consuming.
Yeah, and you don't have all the time in the world, basically.
Yeah. So when I was like PhD was studying robotic fish, I thought that is very complicated. Like it's so complicated, I can't control it. And then when I moved here, I find the biological system is no way. This is even more complicated. You can't really even control anything. So
Right.
yeah, you
Right.
can't control anything. You can't predict anything. Like so. In one way, it could be frustrating. Like you always kind of reject your hypothesis, and on the other way, sometimes if it works, then you will be that's it.
That's like the eureka moment. It worked.
Yeah, exactly. That's the moment.
What excites you the most about science and being a scientist or a researcher?
The most exciting thing for me to be a scientist, freedom.
Freedom.
Yeah, you can do whatever you like.
It's true.
And if you like it, then you are motivated to work on it. You don't need to have another person to push you, right? And also you could explore whatever you're interested in. And that's really great. And also you could like try always kind of with your full of energy and full of power, full of your time to explore what you're fully interested in.
Right. Actually, this is a personal question from me because you are a group leader and you're sitting like right at this intersection between biology and engineering. I can imagine that there's so many moving parts and so many different types of questions that basically come through your lab. And you have to, I don't know, supervise postdocs and PhDs and all of these. Basically, I feel like there's so many moving parts in your lab. How do you manage that as a group leader?
To be honest, I can't. I don't think I successfully managed to do that. It's more about like kind of always in the instability point. Like it's not like going to chaotic yet, but could be very easily to go to be chaotic. One thing I think could be one of my advantages. Like I have been trained in engineering, and I know kind of what are their interests and what's the question they are interested in. And also I've spent around 7 or 8 years in biologic departments here, and I also know what kind of language are spoken here.
Yeah, the questions that they're interested in.
So this could be one of my advantages, so that I could understand both or can speak both languages, and I can kind of explore one thing. I find, okay, in selling this to biologic thing or biologic field is failed, then maybe we can switch to the engineering field, right? So maybe we can get some success for there. A lot of ideas we brought here, they never thought before. So I think this could be one of the advantage we are doing. But on the other way, it could be also very challenging because people are often in specific fields, they are very stuck in those original or historic or whatever predefined paradigm. And if you want to revolutionize, like you want to change it, and
think
it's very
outside
hard.
the box.
Yeah, it's
try something new.
Yeah, it's quite difficult. But nowadays, I think it's really the time. Like I think the time now is really better than before, and it's quite open, and a lot of things are really helpful, and also a lot of people are really acceptable for those new thoughts.
I think people are just excited by what you bring and the questions that you ask, and I think that's really, and the fact that you mentioned yourself that you can communicate with both worlds, right? The engineers as well as the biologists. I think that really helps. And I really want to kind of like go against you a little bit, like when you say that you don't manage your group. Obviously you do.
Thank you.
Really, like your group is producing and going forward and asking and, setting up studies on concerning all of these really cool projects. So I think you're doing perfect. So thank you so much for being here. Before you go and before we let you go, can you give what I call a pep talk for academics? Like, let's say someone is feeling down or they're finding it difficult to get into science or finding it difficult to continue in science.
I think keep trying.
Keep trying.
Keep trying. Yeah, I think, nowadays, even I think one of the quote for science is not making products. There's no way to make sure the products will be there and it will be a product.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be just some trash, although, starting from a very good starting point.
Mm-hmm.
So we should accept that science could be failed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think trying is the key word, and just keep trying.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This has been absolutely amazing to have you here. And this has been In the Swarm. Stay tuned for the next episode. Bye!